This is the Pickleball and Partnership podcast, the place to talk about building better connections with your partner, learning how to communicate with each other, and how to inject fun into your relationship, all through the game of pickleball. If that sounds like your cup of tea, pull up a chair, grab your paddle, and join me, your host, Charlotte Jukes, for Pickleball and Partnership. Welcome to the very first episode of Pickleball and Partnership podcast. Hello, I'm your host, Charlotte Jukes, and I am so excited to be here. And I am so excited that you're here with me for this very first episode of my very first podcast. I want to dive right in here and give you some background about who I am and why I decided to start this podcast, what this podcast is all about, and what you can expect from it each week, and how you can benefit from listening to this podcast. So come with me on this journey. I'm really excited to invite all of you along for the ride. I have never done a podcast before. This is all very new to me. This is such a huge learning curve. So I just ask for your patience and your non-judgment as I navigate this new path for myself. Technology is not always my friend, but I am learning every step of the way. So, okay, I'm Charlotte Jukes. I have been a nurse for the last over 30 years. That's pretty much most of who I am. The other part is that I am married and have been to my wonderful husband for 27 years. We've known each other for over 30 years. And I am also a mom to my wonderful 3 adult children. So that's me in a nutshell. Thinking about podcasting, thinking about recording and putting myself out there when I was, I think, 12 years old. My dad actually managed a radio station back in the UK. He worked for the BBC. And as a special treat, if I had been especially good that week, and he had to go in on a Saturday for some reason to the BBC studios, then I was allowed to go with him. And I was so excited. I absolutely loved being taken along. I love the whole studio atmosphere. And it got to the point where my dad said to me, "Hey, would you like to record something and put it out on this Saturday morning program that was for younger listeners?" And I said, yes, I did. I was so excited about the thought of that. So I actually ended up reviewing computer games. Computers had only really started to come into people's homes, and we were playing, I don't even remember. One was a crazy tennis game with a huge sort of bat on one end of the screen, and you hit a ball across a line down the middle that represented the net. Anyway, that was one of the games I remember. Another one was Chucky Egg, I think. But what I would do was I would write these reviews and then go into the studio and record them. And I absolutely loved that. That felt like something I enjoyed and I was good at. And then it was always my intention actually to go into journalism and into broadcasting. But the universe had other ideas, and I followed my mum's career. She was a nurse, and so at the age of 18, I went into nursing, and that's where I have been ever since. So going back to 2020, Neil and I had actually bought this house and moved into it, and it needed a complete renovation. I mean, like down to the studs. It's, what do people say? It had good bones, but that was about it. The garden was lovely. It was in a beautiful cul-de-sac. Neighbors were amazing. And so we had moved into this house, and for the next 3.5 years, actually, while our youngest child was at high school for grades 10, 11, and 12, we completely gutted this house and we renovated it. and we turned it into our dream home. And then my husband had this bright, crazy idea to put it on the market and sell it, which we did very quickly and easily, which left us homeless. But okay, so for 3.5 years, we had done nothing but renovate this house, which was good. I mean, we were still working through COVID, but it definitely gave us something to do. We actually learned a lot about each other during that time of renovation. I learned a lot about myself, not all of it good, but we got to the end of the renovation. We sold the house. We moved into a rental. So we literally went from having to wake up every single morning, every weekend. We spent every evening renovating this house, knocking down walls, redoing drywall, plastering, painting, refiguring the internal plan. So we went from literally being 100% occupied with our time to now moving into this rental. And we looked at each other and we said, okay, now what? Our youngest had graduated high school. He was now in university. And we sort of sat there twiddling our thumbs and not knowing how we would move forward together as a couple and what we wanted to do now. So Neil, in his wisdom, came up with this crazy idea. Hey, let's learn to play pickleball. Now, the only experience that either of us had ever had of pickleball was watching it being played down in Arizona. We used to go down there and there were pickleball courts. I actually didn't even know they were pickleball courts. I thought they were tennis courts. But obviously, when you looked a bit closer, the balls weren't tennis balls and people were not playing with tennis rackets, but they were all old. They were all like really old people, and no offense to old people. And they were active, so good on them. But they were definitely sort of in their late 70s, 80s. And this is a time when we were much younger. And so when Neil mentioned pickleball, my immediate reaction was, oh my gosh, absolutely not. I'm not old and I'll play tennis. Thank you very much. But we hadn't been playing tennis, and tennis is quite expensive to play here in Calgary anyway. So I thought, okay, hang on a second. Here is my husband asking me to try something new and asking me to try something new with him, which is great. So I took a deep breath and I said, okay, let's do it. I'm willing to play. But, and if anybody knows me, you will know that I like to have my ducks in a row. I like structure. I like to know what I'm doing, which is why this podcast is so scary and alien to me. I like to know what I'm doing. I like to know what the rules are. I like to know how to play the game, where I should be, what I should be doing, and what my opponent should be doing as well. So in the community that we had just moved into, they were advertising beginner pickleball lessons. And so I said, okay, I'll learn to play pickleball with you, but we need to go and take lessons. I want to know the rules of the game. And so Neil agreed and we signed up. And this was late August 2022. So we signed up for 6 beginner lessons and we showed up the first week not having a clue what to expect. But over the course of 6 weeks, we met some other amazing people and we made friends with them. And we thought, hey, this is a really good place for people our age, people with children, adult children, to make new friends, to meet people and to have some fun. Although I have to say it wasn't always fun in the beginning, not knowing what the heck we were doing. And it hasn't always been fun through the journey, but it seemed like the kind of game that we picked it up quite easily and we learned how to play it. And it was fun. We look forward to going every week and learning the rules and learning how to play. So I really wanted to start this podcast because this podcast is not about learning the game of pickleball. It's not about how to play the game or how to necessarily get better at playing the game of pickleball. What it is about is honestly how much I have grown as a person, the things that I have identified within myself. This is honestly about how Neil and I have navigated our relationship through the game of pickleball. It became very apparent to us quite early on that playing together as a mixed doubles pair on the pickleball court, so many of the skills and the strategies that we were learning and implementing in the game, we could also implement in our relationship, in our home life. And so that was exciting to me when I sort of looked back after a year of playing. I said to Neil, oh my gosh, this is amazing. We are actually learning to communicate on a deeper level. We are beginning to understand each other. And we've known each other for over 30 years. And yet here we are now learning new things about each other and learning why the other person behaves in the way that they do, why the other person reacts in the way that they do when something happens. And I honestly learned so much about myself as well, because I began to question why I was reacting to certain situations and what the heck that was all about. Why it bothered me so much when my opponent was smashing the ball continuously at me, to the point, when I say bothered by, I mean like I would be close to tears. I would be close to the point where I just wanted to storm off the court. And I started questioning why I was reacting in this way and what the heck was going on with me. And when I was able to sort of get curious about that, I realized that there was a lot of healing I still had to do. There was still some trauma that I had gone through, and I could trace it back to my parents, me as a child, and my parents growing up, and the dynamic within our family, and my relationship with my mum and my relationship with my dad. I could trace it back to those times, and I could see that there were actually patterns throughout my life. And it absolutely dumbfounded me in a way that it took pickleball for me to realize this on a more conscious level. We're going to dig into this a lot deeper. I'm sort of still trying to figure out why it was that pickleball was able to really help both of us discover more things about ourselves and our characteristics. But on top of that as well, we realized that we can actually work very well as a team. And if we can identify our own strengths and our own weaknesses, and then we can identify our partner's strengths and weaknesses, then we can build on that so that our pickleball game on the court improves. But we could also transfer that to our relationship in other areas. So at home and in the bedroom and, at work, and all kinds of different dynamics, dealing with the children, our relationship with the children as well now. And oh my gosh, I wish I had done this when the children were smaller, but maybe I wasn't ready to hear those messages then. But I think we have grown so much, and we have gone through so many experiences playing pickleball, playing with other couples, playing with other single players, playing in tournaments together, that we have learned so much from all of those different aspects that I felt compelled to really get very vulnerable, which that's not me.
But it felt very important for me at this point to get vulnerable and to share our experiences, because we can't be the only couple that are feeling the way that we feel, that are experiencing the challenges we are experiencing and have experienced in our marriage, in our relationship. We can't be the only couple that have struggled. We definitely, being British, you don't air your dirty laundry in public. My grandma always told me that. We don't share things. I lost my mum and dad when I was in my 20s. So although I had a very close relationship with my mum, I didn't have somebody that I could confide in. I didn't have that feminine figure that I could confide in as I was going through my 30s and 40s and now into my 50s. And so really Neil and I had each other, and we fumbled through a lot of our challenges, and we've stuck together, and I love him for that. I love our stubbornness. I love our persistence and our determination. But I know that there's an easier way to do things. And I think, if nothing else, I just really wanted to share with other people that you're not alone. And hey, this is what's happened to us. This is what we've experienced. And if you're experiencing anything close to that, you're not on your own. I'm passionate about this topic of pickleball and partnership with your partner, that deeper connection, because honestly, our marriage has experienced increased communication, better communication at such a deeper level since we started playing pickleball together. We have a deeper understanding of ourselves individually as well as each other. We know each other better. We understand why the other person may react in a certain way and what's going on with them at the times. I can actually now say, when Neil reacts to something, I don't take it as personally, because I know that that's a part of him that's feeling frustrated or unsafe or challenged in some way. And that doesn't need to be about me. But for years, I took that on and made it about me. And so honestly, it took the flipping game of pickleball for us to realize and discover all these things about each other. So I'm hoping that throughout these episodes of Pickleball and Partnership, that we will dive deep into different experiences and stories that we have to tell about learning the game and how we interact on the court and at home. I want to share with you stories like, there was one tournament in particular, actually, it was this past summer. And I don't even honestly remember what happened, but Neil and I got to this point where we disagreed about something so intensely that we were really not in a good place. And it was the Friday night, and we had a pickleball tournament that we had signed up for the next day. And we honestly spent that Friday evening in separate parts of the house. We weren't talking to each other. We were both mad. We were both digging our heels in, and we couldn't come to any kind of agreement. And we turned up to the tournament the next day. Again, we'd got up that morning and gone about getting ready without really speaking to each other. And the car ride there was painful and uncomfortable, and I felt mad and infuriated, and I honestly did not want to go and play this tournament. But some part of me also did. And anyway, we got on the court, and I remember that first game, getting on the court and thinking, okay, this is my safe place. This is the place where I'm now playing with my pickleball partner, my partner of 30 years, my partner in crime, and we're going to smash this out of the park. We've got this. And we actually were able to put our feelings aside and completely 100% focus on the game and working together and moving together. We actually were able to do that, which is so crazy because we literally had hated each other before we stepped onto that court. And we worked together. And anyway, we ended up winning gold. And I know we'll go into this in more detail, but it's stories like that where you can be at such odds with your partner and then you find some commonality. And in our case, it's pickleball, and everything else just dissolves. And then how after that tournament, we were able to celebrate ourselves and we were able to celebrate with each other and then go, okay, what the heck was that about? Let's dig into that and figure out what was going on yesterday and why we got to that point. And yeah, so it's stories like that, I mean, we're real people. I used to think that the world needed perfect. And I went to great lengths and I put a lot of energy into appearing as though my life was perfect and my relationship was perfect. My marriage was perfect. My children were perfect. My job was perfect. I put a lot of energy into showing the world that I am perfect. And it wasn't until recently that I realized the world does not want perfect. The world wants authenticity. And honestly, that's what I have to share with you in this podcast. I have authenticity. And for the first time in decades, I am showing you my authenticity. I am showing you my vulnerable side. And I'm sharing that with the world because that feels more peaceful for me. I honestly feel like that's what we need. That's what we all need to connect with each other. So that's why I'm passionate about this podcast. That's why I want to share this podcast with you. So I hope you'll come along for the ride. I hope you will join us on this journey. Neil will be joining me too because his voice is really important as well. But this was my baby, my idea, my creation. And so I wanted to jump on here in this first episode and share with you from the heart, authentically, my vulnerable self, why I'm putting this podcast out there. And I'm really excited to share it with you. And please join me on this journey of pickleball and partnership. I'm your host, Charlotte Jukes.
Thanks so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Anything mentioned, including links, notes, and a full episode list, will be over on our website at synergyhealth.org/podcast in the podcast section. If you got something out of this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe to Pickleball and Partnership on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen so that you're notified of new and upcoming episodes. And if you're finding value in this podcast, a cost-free way to support us is to leave a 5-star review. It truly means the world to us. This will help more people access these real conversations. If you really got something out of it, take a screenshot of this episode on your phone and share it on social media. Tag me at Charlotte Jukes and I will absolutely reshare your post. If you haven't connected with me personally, I would love to meet you and say hi. Thanks again for listening. Remember, we're all learning, growing, and showing up in our own ways, and that's what matters most.